while giving birth to her second son. It doesn't really make sense that she'd be weeping over them if she didn't outlive them. Let's get context for that first. We'll turn to Jeremiah chapter 31, verse 15 to begin with. So again, that's Jeremiah 31, verse 15. And that says, this will let me get to it. One second. Okay, Jeremiah 31:15. We're having a setback, but now we're here. This is what Jehovah says. A voice is heard in Ramah, lamentations and bitter weeping. Rachel is weeping over her sons. She has refused to be comforted over her sons because they are no more. Now, with that being said, first we want to explain something. If you'll follow the asterisk there at verse 15 when it says sons, you go down lower and it actually explains that it can be translated as children. This seems like something that may not be as important, it's just a translation difference, but it can make a difference in connotation. Children has a broader meaning in the sense that rather than just being her sons, her direct children, it can be spread out, it can stretch to multiple people. Now, let's get some more context. We have to remember that Rachel's first son, Joseph, fathered Manasseh and Ephraim. Subsequently, Ephraim became the most prominent tribe of the north and came to represent all 10 tribes. Meanwhile, the tribe of Benjamin became part of the southern kingdom. Now, evidently, it is possible that Rachel is figuratively used to refer to all mothers of Israel. How so? Well, if we look at our reference material, we'll turn to the Watchtower of 2014 and the questions from readers. And I'll quote it here saying, by the time the book of Jeremiah was written, the northern 10-tribe kingdom had already fallen to the Assyrians, and many of its people had been taken captive. However, some of Ephraim's descendants may have fled to the territory of Judah. Now we'll explain this further if you turn to Jeremiah chapter 40, verse 1 with me. Jeremiah 40, verse 1 says, the word that came to Jeremiah from Jehovah after Nebuzaradan, the chief of the guard, let him go free from Ramah. He had taken him there, bound with handcuffs, and he was among all the exiles of Jerusalem and of Judah who were being deported to Babylon. Now, this verse directly correlates with 31:15 with reference to Ramah. It's important to note that the verse mentions that the Babylonians, after deporting the exiles of Judah, sent them, many of them, to Ramah. It's possible that some were killed during this process. We know that in 1 Samuel chapter 10, verse 2, that Rachel was buried near this territory. Some may have been killed near this territory, and therefore we could discern from this that Rachel's weeping over her sons could imply her figuratively mourning over the Benjaminites in general, or those particularly of Ramah. So in our first point, we see Rachel being used as a representation of mothers of Judah during Jeremiah's day, her grief and the grief of those mothers. But if we look at a prophetic meaning, we take this in a broader sense, we can turn to Matthew chapter 2, verses 16 through 18. Matthew chapter 2, verse 16 through 18. Then Herod, seeing that he had been outwitted by the astrologers, flew into a great rage, and he sent out, and had all the boys in Bethlehem and in all its districts killed, from 2 years of age and under, according to the time he had carefully ascertained from the astrologers. Then was fulfilled what was spoken through Jeremiah the prophet, who said, a voice was heard in Ramah, weeping and much wailing. It was Rachel weeping for her children, and she was unwilling to take comfort, because they are no more. So now for our prophetic understanding of this, we see that when the sons of Bethlehem were killed, the sheer grief of their mothers was described so intense that they could hear it all the way to Ramah, the north side of Jerusalem. They're on the south side of this. That's how intense their pain for this was. The illustrative use of Rachel's weeping was a fitting way to describe the mass grief of the mothers in Jerusalem. There is hope, however, despite all of this suffering. If we notice in Jeremiah chapter 31, verse 16, which is immediately after this point, at the end of it, it says, they will return from the land of the enemy. That was Jehovah speaking to them. We do have one more scripture if you turn to 1 Corinthians 15, verse 26, however. So if we turn to 1 Corinthians 15, verse 26 in your Bibles, and that says, and the last enemy, death, is to be brought to nothing. We share the same opportunity that those that were killed do, and we hope to see them in the new system along with the congregation. Thank you.